WFM 91.7.
This is Women Radio WFM 91.7. My name is Daniel Adaja, and you're welcome to The Big Question. This morning on The Big Question, we're having a conversation of watchdog journalism, and I have the privilege to speak with a Daily Trust reporter, Ariel Charles, who had an encounter with Femi Fani-Kayode during the course of the week, which has generated a lot of conversation among the journalism community or journalist community, and also has generated a lot of conversation about the place of a journalist across the board, to how politicians actually address us on various platforms. Good morning, Charles.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
I'm very fine. Good to have you with us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me on Radio 91.7, Women Radio.
Yes, that is it. You're very correct. And I'd like us to talk I want us to have like more of a chit-chat more than an interview this morning. I know the conversation is about watchdog journalism, but then the whole incident that played out during the course of the week, have you had to like take a moment to sit down and replay it, and what do you make of that situation?
Well, it has become funny. It has become interesting.
Okay.
It has become a study. I am even surprised the way it has turned out.
Okay.
It has, from my very modest background, I have seen myself being seen as somebody who is important, whereas I am not.
That's interesting to hear that that these are the things you have said are actually what exactly is going on. Is going on. Have you had to like watch the video that went viral?
I have.
Okay.
I have watched, and I have just seen one that a certain man has turned it into a drama. You know.
That is so cool. Yes, but it's important that we address some of these issues. There were some underlining things that happened in that video. I think I'd like to first of all point out. First is, do you have any regrets at all towards any statement you made?
Well, I did not make any statement other than to ask that question that did not last up to a few seconds.
Yeah. Okay.
Sir, you have not disclosed to us who is bankrolling you. I don't think that is up to 3 or
4 seconds, 5 seconds.
So that was the only statement I made. And what I can say as a regret is the way I said sorry.
Okay.
That came out very unconsciously. You know, because of the way the ex-minister reacted. You know, I thought I had offended him. You know, because I am not given to offending people.
I could tell.
So yeah, so that is one of the main reasons. And you know, at that same moment, a few of my colleagues, you know, kind of pounded at me, and I said, okay, I've offended this man. Not because I asked that question. That question is very professional. That question is deliberate. Okay. And he claims somebody sponsored me. Nobody sponsored me to ask the question. So that is the only regret that I, as unconsciously, I said, sorry, sir. You know.
I think that was just you being very human, because when I was trying to do an analysis of that video with a couple of friends, I was telling them that the sorry came out unconsciously, and it came out from a point where, you know, like you said about yourself, which I kind of agree with you, that you know being a very humble person, that is something that would just unconsciously just come out of anybody who has been somebody who understands value and respect, would come out from. But do you have an issue when you replayed the video and saw how other journalists who were in that sitting sort of bounced on you?
Yes, and these are my very good friends. These are the people that we work together daily.
Okay.
So it made me feel somehow, but I have taken it in my stride. I want to thank God that it has happened.
Has any of those journalists had to give you a phone call and apologize for how they pounced on you?
Yes, one of them has called me and apologized profusely.
Wow, that's amazing to see that somebody decided to take the bull by the horn. That's cool. Now, for journalism as a whole, what has played out with your what the situation that happened with you and FFK had generated a lot of conversation. But what do you think this can do for journalism? The fact that for a very long time, journalists have been afraid to ask politicians or people who have served in public offices very tough questions that requires answers.
Well, what I want to say is that my colleagues should come out of their shell. You know, they should not be afraid of anybody, whether it is the president, anybody at all, because the public look up to us to ask questions on their behalf. So no matter the way the big men or those that we are facing or interviewing, no matter the way they want to present themselves, we should be at liberty. We should not be afraid to confront them, because if we are afraid, we would have disappointed the larger society, who wants these leaders to account for the way they have managed our common resources. Yes.
That is
the way it is.
Okay.
It is a threat to journalism. It is a threat to the Freedom of Information Act. It is a threat to the Constitution, which has given journalists the right to project the society and to put the leaders on their feet.
That is so true. That is so true. Put us on our feet. But what would you say with regards to the freedom of the press freedom in Nigeria? I don't know, how many years have you been practicing?
It's over 20 years.
Over 20 years. That's over 2 decades of being a journalist. What can you say about press freedom in Nigeria?
The press is not entirely free presently, given what the recent scenario.
Okay.
The press has not been given the freedom. It has not been given the necessary wherewithal to carry out its responsibility. So the freedom of the press is still at risk. Okay.
And then, what would you say with regards to the issue of bias, with regards to journalism and reportage of conversations with political parties and politicians or public administrators? What would you say with regards to how we have allowed the issue of money? Let me put it directly. Money has played a very big role in how we have seen certain journalists report stories.
Well, I will also not entirely blame my colleagues, because from reports available, it appears that many of them are not well remunerated.
Okay.
So, which reason a few of them might have an eye on the little things that might fall out from the pocket of these people. So, which at the same time has also undermined the practice of journalism and press freedom.
Okay. Talking about remuneration right now, pay gap in the media. There was a stat I read up some times ago that Nigeria has the lowest paying. The journalists are they are among the lowest being paid in the country. What do we need to do to ensure that we can improve the standard of pay for journalists so that there can be more credibility in the stories that we are putting out?
Well, it is for NUJ and other bodies who are managing the media to stand up, to talk to the managers, owners of media outlets in Nigeria, to see that it is the journalists that are the backbone, that are the main producers of what they are marketing. Without the journalists, without the reporters, newspaper houses, TV houses, radio houses would not be where they are. So, and I want to use the opportunity to appeal to the federal government to look into the plight of the media houses. They have challenges. that might account for why some of them are not able to properly pay their reporters. So it is important that newspaper houses see this aspect as very important.
This is the big question. We're looking at the case of Ayo Charles this morning, the young journalist who actually had a very viral video with FFK, and it's been everywhere. And we're looking at watchdog journalism this morning. Let's look at journalists themselves. Now, as a journalist with over 20 years experience in the field, what can you say with regards to the union among journalists? There's a lot of bias. We definitely understand that there's bias, there's politics, but then when we talk about unionism, there's the Nigerian Union of Journalists. Do you think that union is actually holding journalists together?
To a greater extent, I think they are. It depends on the leadership. It depends on who is at the helm. Because if you don't make attempt at unifying your members, if you don't make attempt at looking at their welfare, if you don't make attempt at seeing to the total well-being of members and singularly and collectively, it will impact negatively against the growth and stability of any union. So, and it is also important that journalists who are members of NUJ should also come together. There should not be division among them. So they should come together and make the union much more impactful. Look at other professional bodies, NBA, NMA, and the likes. They appear to be more formidable than NUJ. So it is important that we in NUJ, Nigeria Union of Journalists, should also make our own union to be very impactful, formidable, and independent.
That is so true. That is true. I totally agree with what you've said this morning. If I want us to just quickly go back to the interactions between you and FFK, and what lessons in particular did you sort of pick out when you were like replaying the whole scenario and trying to what lessons did you pick out, and what lessons do you want other journalists to learn from that interaction? I have learned a lot of lessons. But one thing has stood out, that we journalists should be stubbornly professional. Stubbornly professional. So, but when you look at protection for journalists, stubbornly professional has landed a lot of journalists in prison.
Yes, it is the hazard of the job. Every job has its own hazard. This is our own type of hazard. So, what transpired between me and the ex-minister, I don't really see it as something unusual. It is something that is expected. Look at Nigerian soldiers. They are sent to Northeast, to other war fronts. Many of them don't come back. It is the hazard of the job. So in journalism, we have our own hazards, which I have also passed through, as you can see.
Yes, that is so true. When I'm speaking with Ayo Charles, Daily Trust reporter, who had an interaction with FFK that went viral on social media, and definitely we saw how the media clamped down on FFK. Just by chance, has a personal apology been made to you by the ex-minister Fani Femi Kayode?
Well, he has not made any apology. He has not contacted me. I have only read on papers and on social media about the apology he has made, which appears to be not really out of his own volition. But he said advice from his men. to withdraw the word stupid, and you know.
Have you tried to like think it through on why FFK found that question he said that the question was an attempt to embarrass him, and he wanted to find out who paid for it and how much they paid before going into for that press briefing. Why do you think? Have you tried to think it through on why he would have found such question to be embarrassing?
Now, the question I asked, does it really look like an embarrassing question?
Okay.
He has presented to the whole world that he is guilty. And who would have sponsored me to ask the question? Of course, I am paid by daily trust newspapers to ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
So if he is asking who sponsored me, the right question would be that the daily trust newspapers are those that sponsored me to ask the questions.
Just pause that thought there. Let's see if we can take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Dr. calling from
I need you to speak up a little bit better. Thank you.
Yeah, I said this is Dr. calling from
Dakpo from Bega. All right.
Ojota, yeah.
From Ojota.
Yes, I've been listening to the gentleman, and I just wanted to encourage him that,
okay.
A lot of us are not surprised. Some of us who observe closely political characters like, the ex-minister, we're not really surprised. It shouldn't be intimidated. It's just symptomatic of power, the status of power in Nigeria and in other parts of the world, to be fair.
Okay.
They say power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. There are people in this country that once they take power, you will not know. They say even the devil does not know the heart of man. So we're not surprised. I mean, ever since that time now, other viral videos have come up of where the ex-minister have actually used that word in Zamfara, on Bentis, somewhere one of these international media conversations. Two different videos now that I've seen on social media about the same person using such. So his apologies, even if he called the journalist to apologize, it doesn't guarantee that he will still not call somebody stupid again at the next interview. So I think the journalist should just take it in the chain and move on. Like you rightly said, it's called occupational hazard. So good job.
All right, thank you very much for your comments there. I have A.O. Charles with me, the Daily Trust reporter, who had an interaction with Femi Fani-Kayode, and the outburst went viral, and I've had the opportunity for him to speak this morning. Very honest and simple conversation. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning to you.
Yes, good morning to you. Your name and where are you calling from?
Yinka from Owo.
Good morning, Yinka.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that my brother there. I want to just encourage you to keep on doing that. We need people like you in Nigeria to speak up and be more professional. I love the way you do. In our state here, we don't want the truth. Whenever we say the truth, somebody is going to counter it. Somebody is going to come up with a false allegation about it. Forget about the fake news in the media. But do you know that Yoruba said that in everything or element of a thing, when somebody reported something about you, there's a truth there. Even if it's a lie, there's something they've seen before they come up with that thing.
Okay.
So this gentleman here could have actually understood FFK and certain things about him. He asked him that questions and he failed. It shows the kind of people they are. And even when they are in power, they are very, very, you know them, you know the way they talk. And I think that the Nigerian government should also sue him for saying that somebody of a public figure, he should be sued. And even though he has apologized, because they said to us that we should not talk anyhow on the radio, we should not deform character of people, we should not do this. See what someone that is leading a role model is saying in the public. It's appalling. It's something that is regrettable. So my brother, I want to thank you for your work. Keep doing it. Don't feel don't reject in any way, and some of your colleagues are compromised, leave them to it. They'll suffer for it.
All right, thank you, Yinka. Appreciate your comment this morning. All right, let me come back to you, Charles. Definitely, the whole video has brought to limelight something that I have been passionate about: the fact that we need to begin to question a lot of things, and it's very difficult for journalists to have these uncomfortable conversations with politicians because we have this presumption that our lives are in danger. So people find it difficult to ask this question. But how do we make the environment safer for journalists to be able to ask politicians, public office holders, present and past, questions that they really would question their accountability?
Well, it is for us to persist. It is for us to persist in a job. Otherwise, like I said earlier, the public depends what the journalists can be able to get out from our leaders.
Okay. So
if we deviate, we would have disappointed Nigerians. Because they depend on the newspapers, depend on the television, depend on other media outlets for them to get information about how government is managing their resources. So it is for journalists to persist in their wrongdoing, in their professional duties.
That is so true. You know, I remember when we were trying to look for what to tag this conversation, and we said watchdog journalism. I like the way Wikipedia put it. It said it's a form of investigative journalism where the author or the publisher fact checks and interviews political figures and authority, thereby verifying the validity of their actions and statements. I love how they put it there. But then, do you think journalists or watchdog journalism or the Union of Watchdog Journalism has been able to fact check political figures and authorities?
I can never write off Nigerian journalists.
Okay.
We have very good journalists in this country, and they are doing their work very well. Only a handful. Remember the likes of Reiku, Delegiwa, and very many others. They were daring. They put in their very best. They knew whom they are. Which reason Delegiwa, for instance, was murdered. So we have very good Nigerian journalists. So it is for us for those ones to see that the upcoming ones through their own path. If journalists, remember it was the journalists that really fought for the return of democracy in Nigeria. It was journalists that fought the military standstill. So that crop of Nigerian journalists, they should persist and ensure that the upcoming ones should succeed them. They should be fearless as they are.
This is still the big question on Women Radio 91.7. My name is Daniel Adaja. We're looking at watchdog journalism, and I have the opportunity of speaking with El Charles, who had an interaction that went viral with Femi Fani-Kayode, the ex-minister of this very country, Nigeria. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. This is Samson from Moba.
Good morning, Samson. Your comments quickly.
All right, great. Well, it's a good one. We've got to be confident about whatsoever we do, and I love the confidence of the guy and how the journalists rallied around him. In no way will I support Fani-Kayode's decision. We know people, some people are just like that in politics. And at the same time, too, we've got in doing this our professional work, we should also, sometimes be cautious. I have been involved in a lot of activism in my own profession. And I know that quite well there are some bad folks amongst the journalists too. I know that there was one time we had issues with Lagos State government, and it took us a lot of media pally to get our news across to the public. They were not being carried. You understand? I mean, I can tell you for free that, one of the media agents that we had said, look, we've just got to give some money to some people to carry this news. And that was always good. That was what we did. And I can tell you that, it went, the following time it went viral and everybody, we needed our news to get to the public. So we know we have some bad folks.
Okay.
And I really appreciate the guy. No matter what, I've once had an issue with one of my senior persons. And another senior person called and said, look, something, if you don't find any fault in what you have done, then you have not learned anything. The man is at fault, yes. Your superior is at fault, yes. But look at this area, look at this area, look at it. Sometimes too, we need a little, because some people are very, very useless with words.
All right, thank you. I wouldn't allow you to use thank you for that, but you have made your points. Thank you. There's a statement I want to read out to you now, Ayo Charles, which is a very huge disclaimer. Anybody who knows Women Radio would understand this disclaimer very well. And it states that staffs of WFM 91.7 do not accept gift or cash or kind. Please do not offer any gift or cash or kind to any of our staff. We would, however, appreciate your recommendations whereby a staff has been outstanding. I want to talk about the issue of brown envelope. How has this ridiculed the journalism?
Well, to a certain level, it has, because the very few unprofessional colleagues, have given attention to that. The paper for which I work for, Daily Trust, every day, I think in page 2 or page 3, there's always a section there where they warn that members of their staff must not, be compromised. And if anybody finds that such one is compromised, should quickly blow the whistle. So I think that policy is also operational in many other newspapers and other media outlets. So that the few bad eggs, let me use that word, bad eggs, are those that have been compromised.
But this compromise has been for a while, because we can't take out the fact that of all the things FFK said, I tried to look at what were some of the hard truths that were there. Because when I watched the video and I saw where other journalists were saying sorry sir, I thought of when he used the statement brown envelope, and I was like, no, that's a big insult on journalism as a body.
Yeah, indeed it was.
All right, my final question would be for young journalists who are starting off their careers, who are looking at covering very hidden stories. We had the likes of Kiki Modi cover the sex for grade. We've had a lot of other journalists to put out very amazing work. What would be your, words of advice? What are the key lessons in your 20 years experience that you would want them to have? But just before you make those comments, let's take this final call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Yeah, this is Emeka calling from China.
Emeka, where are you calling me from?
I'm calling you from Ishaga.
Okay, I think I heard Ishaga. All right, please make your comment quickly.
Yes, I just want to encourage the young man for his courage so far. I have read it and I have watched the clips. I love the courage he summoned to apologize to MFK. Okay, he's a media cover. Definitely, he's going to face a lot of challenges, a lot of negativity he's going to see. You understand? But the ability for him to overcome and conquer these things is what matters. Okay, their adversary is going to face as a challenge. So I just want to encourage to keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Emeka. All right, Charles, let's wrap up this conversation. And my question again is what is your words of advice from your 20 years experience to young journalists who are looking to having the uncomfortable conversations that would stir up, a lot of insight to what is going on in the political and authoritative arm of governance?
The future of Nigeria depends on the upcoming generation, especially the upcoming journalists, the younger ones. So they have to study the history of the brave ones that have bequeathed this provision to us. They have to persist in that investigative and honest journalism that we have learned from our elders. Otherwise, the future might be in bleak. So that is my honest advice. They have to be very professional, honest, and investigative, balancing their stories as they go.
All right. Thank you so much, Charles, for joining us this morning. And your final words, and what are your expectations or the next steps of action with regards to your viral video? Because you're very popular right now. You're now becoming a role model to a lot of young people.
Well, I can only give glory to God, nothing more. I can only give glory to God for whatever that has transpired.
All right.
I want to use this opportunity to thank you, thank my other professional colleagues, thank our professional bodies, the NEJ, the International Press Council, the Media Rights Agency, Amnesty International, so many others that have that rose, towards this scene that took place. So I want to thank them. I want to pray that God should bless them all.
All right.
And I want to use this opportunity to forgive my elder brother, Chief Fadi.
That's a lot of bold step there. That's a lot of bold step. Thank you.
I have forgiven him.
Appreciate that, and we definitely stand behind you. We definitely right behind you. But he still has to answer that question, whether he likes it or not. Some other journalist is going to pull that question out to him, and another guardian. Let's see if he's going to have a long fuse this time around. All right. Thank you very much, Ayo Charles. Do have a lovely day.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. And it's a wrap this morning on The Big Question, Women Radio 91.7. The Watchdog Journalism, a case of Ayo Charles, the Daily Trust reporter, whose viral video has generated and sparked a lot of conversation. I believe that in the world we find ourselves today, politicians must be ready to be accountable. And when questions that pose threats, questions that they feel uncomfortable about, refuse to be answered by politicians, we need to keep pressing on that question. And the question of who is bankrolling you. It's a very honest, simple question that requires just an answer. There are so many ways he would have answered that situation and we would have had a good day. But then, maybe a short fuse was all he had. And there are some other individuals too, who your cases have not gone on the papers, but your fuse is also very short. So I'm going to advise you, if you have a short fuse, please do well to take your time to begin to understand that we're in a world that requires accountability right now. Nigeria is in a tough position right now, and anyone who is in an authoritative position, don't abuse your office. Do not use your office as a position of authority. We have gone past the era of slave trade. If you call yourself a slave master, please stop. And please identify with the fact that this is a dialogue situation right now. People want to talk, people want to engage, people want to interact. Do feel free to answer questions in the most modest and what's the word now? Respectful and patriotic way as you can. My name is Daniel Adaja. I want to say good morning to you. Let's have a beautiful and a lovely day together.
WFM 91.7.